first of all, happy Wednesday to everybody here. I know this is a topic that a lot of you are constantly asking questions about. And I know, talking about self-doubt and self-trust, this was something that I used to struggle with. And I thought it was because I had some sort of problem. Like there was some sort of flaw in me that, I didn't feel good enough. I lacked a lot of motivation. I had difficulty making decisions. So let's first talk about what's happening when you lack self-trust and you're constantly struggling with self-doubt. Again, for those of you who are tuning in, if you want to interact, go ahead, click the link in the description if you want to interact, if you want to ask questions here today. So first of all, I want to welcome you all to the Beat Your Anxiety group. For those of you who are new here, this is the group for people who have been struggling with anxiety pretty much their whole lives. And anyone whose maybe anxiety has started to creep up and get worse and worse over the past few years. Maybe this has gotten as bad as panic attacks or, I remember when I used to struggle with anxiety and panic attacks, I don't know how many times I ended up in the ER. How many of you have ended up in the ER as a result of panic attacks? Like this video, go ahead and comment below. How many of you have struggled to the point where it's almost as if like anxiety has like taken over your body, has taken over your life, right? So first of all, how do we know that we're struggling with self-doubt? What do we experience that tells us that we're struggling with self-doubt? What this can look like is there's anxiety around making decisions. So that often leads to procrastination. Right? There's low self-esteem. There's not feeling good about yourself, perhaps because you're not moving forward, you're not doing the things that you know are going to fulfill you. How many of you here are struggling with self-doubt? Go ahead and comment below, like this video, if you're struggling with self-doubt. And if you're struggling with self-doubt, there's probably a lack of self-trust, right? And just to make sure that you guys can hear me, go ahead and let me know in the comments by joining in the link. Let me know if you're able to hear me okay. I think I have a new microphone that I have going here. And I just want to make sure you all can hear me. So just go ahead and comment below. Let me know that you can hear me. Perfect. Thank you a little more. Angela, thank you for letting me know. Hot topic today, so I am very happy that you guys are tuning in. So let's talk about this. This is such an ongoing problem that so many people have for so long, and the problem is, thanks Angela, a little more, and yeah, thanks for letting me know. Going back to where we were, oftentimes when we're struggling with a lot of doubt within ourselves, this shows up as paralysis. This shows up as like, I don't feel motivated. You're typically not following through on the things that you know are going to make you happy, right? It's like you have one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake at the same time. How many of you know what that feels like? It's like one day you're moving towards your goals, the next day you're sitting around, moping and sad and frustrated, right? There's this like feeling like you're moving forward, but you have this huge anchor behind you, right? So this can often look like we're questioning ourselves. Oftentimes my clients, the reason they're struggling with self-doubt is because they're constantly questioning themselves. They're questioning, is this the right thing? Did I do this right? Is this the right path for me? Like there's all this questioning going on. And we basically, and also what can be happening is others can be installing doubt into us. This is one thing that typically goes under the radar for most people, is that maybe you feel confident about a decision you're making, or you felt confident about it. Like, I can tell you guys, I had the travel bug when I was in high school and college. And I was very independent. And one place I loved to go by myself was Japan. I could speak Japanese, and I loved to go to Japan by myself. And I had no fear around traveling by myself. And it never occurred into my mind that I had something to worry about until people started questioning me. There was no fear until people were like, oh, you're going by yourself? Oh, like, are you sure that's okay? Do you see that? Do you hear how others install doubt into us? Has this happened to you? As most of you know, I'm a board certified hypnotist. I've worked with smokers in the past. I had a client who was trying to quit smoking, and she felt super confident. She's like, I'm done with this. Like, that's it. And then others started installing doubt into her by asking her, oh, are you sure? Like, are you really confident? Like, is this it? Are you sure it's the last one? How do you know? Do you see how people can start to install doubt into us? Are you guys hearing this? This is so profound. This is such an insight that I had, is that others can start to kind of project their doubt onto us, and then we start to question ourselves. In fact, that's where a lot of people's doubt comes from. How many of you know what I'm talking about here? How many of you have experienced that? Like, you are fine, you are confident about your decision. Maybe like this new year, you're trying to lose weight. You're like, I'm doing it, I got this. But then you see other people around you quitting. You hear other people around you like, you know what, why bother? Like, you see other people around you quitting and doubting themselves. And so then you're like, well, what makes me different? What makes me special? And you follow their lead. Do you see how we can rub off on each other that way? This is so critical to start to learn and really paint a picture between where you end and other people begin, especially if you have boundary issues, right? It's you gotta start to actually draw a line between where you end, between where your values, what's important to you, your desires, the things you hate, the things you love, everything that defines you. You need to draw a line between where you end and others begin, or else you get confused about who you are. Do you see that? So I feel like this can be a whole topic in itself. I mean, this is about boundaries. This is about self-identification, not identification with others. This is a whole new skill that most people really haven't built. There's a lot of losing your identity in other things, losing your identity in your relationships, losing your identity in your body, losing your identity in your job or your business, losing your identity in your depression, right? Do you see how we can attach our identity to other things and people, and then we start to lose ourselves? So it's so important to realize, like, okay, that's others thinking. When somebody quits their goals, and you're watching people kind of fade out, or they don't believe in themselves, it's important to recognize, okay, that's others thinking. That's their thinking. That's not my thinking. Okay, so start to recognize this going forward. This is going to be super critical to success in your life, is to figure out where that line is. And the next thing that comes up for a lot of people when they're struggling with self-doubt is there's this imposter syndrome. How many of you heard this phrase, imposter syndrome? Maybe you've identified yourself as like, I feel like an imposter. I feel like a fraud. This is very common with people who struggle to trust their own decisions. How many of you have felt like that before? Like this video, comment below. I feel like an imposter at my job. I feel like an imposter in my relationship. I feel like I'm going to be found out by my family, right? I feel like I'm going to be found out by my clients or my colleagues or my boss. Yeah. Yep. And so, again, it's important to recognize, don't get lost in this concept here. You don't want to identify with imposter syndrome either. You don't want to identify, you are not a phrase. Like, you're a person, you're not a phrase. So it's important to draw a line right there. And a better question is, why do I feel like a fraud? Like, where is this coming from? And what am I experiencing that I feel like a fraud? These are better questions. These are questions that are going to move you forward. Let me just check on this live stream here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank yourselves for showing up. This is a really great topic. Again, comment below, join if you want to interact with me. If you want to ask questions, go ahead and join the link in the description. We're doing things a little bit different going forward. I've got some fancy new equipment here that I'm really excited about testing out, hopefully making things a bit more exciting for you guys as well. So join in the description. So let's start to unravel this, okay? Like, because a lot of people are running around, I feel like an imposter, I don't feel good enough, a lot of anxiety when it comes to making decisions. Oftentimes people interpret this as I don't make decisions, or I have difficulty making decisions. How many of you feel like you have difficulty making decisions? All right. And once again, if you're all looking for answers to your questions, join me in the live. Click the link in the description. I cannot see you if you are on the Facebook page. So just letting you know, guys, you guys who are watching from Facebook, I cannot see your questions. So join in using the link in the description. So, okay. So going back here, so how do we start to unravel this? Like, let's unpack here what's actually going on. Oftentimes underneath this, I feel like a fraud. I feel like I struggle to make decisions. Here's another powerful insight, guys. When I have a client come into me and they say, I struggle to make decisions. Well, then what aren't you doing that you aren't making that decision, right? What aren't you doing that you're not making that decision? And oftentimes it's a decision to do something different. Like, a great example is like, okay, I have a client that comes in, I want to lose weight and I can't get myself to go to the gym, or I can't get myself to choose like a salad or something healthy. But can you see how that's still a decision? Like, the decision is you're choosing not that. Can you see that? You're always making decisions. You make thousands of decisions in one day alone. You're always making a decision, even if you're not going in the direction that you want to, you're choosing not to go into the direction that you want to. Are you recognizing that now? That you're still making decisions? You're an expert decision maker, guys. You're an expert decision maker. The question is, are you making the decisions that move you in the direction that you want, that give you the results that you want? Put yes in the chat if this is you. Yes, I am making the decisions that are moving me forward, or no, I'm choosing not to. Just recognize that. It doesn't mean you're bad or good. It doesn't mean you're hopeless or you're great. We're not labeling here. It's just good to identify, oh, I'm not making decisions that move me in the direction that I want to go. Okay, so what are the decisions that I need to make then? Yeah, Angela, and I'm trying to make decisions. You are making decisions. So let's remove the word trying. That'll help clear up some confusion. Remove the word trying. I'm making decisions. What are the decisions you're making right now? And where are they taking you right now? And is that what you want? That'll help you give your subconscious some clarity about what's not going on here that you do want to do. Is that helpful? Remove the word trying, because that word muddies the waters for your subconscious. And what we're talking about here are subconscious secrets. Your subconscious is the mechanism within inside of you that's driving most of your decisions in a day. This is why people come to hypnotists. This is why cognitive thinking doesn't solve everything. Well, cognitive thinking never solves emotional issues. It never does. So you will always have to be working with your emotional layer, your subconscious, in order to fix problems that were created on a subconscious level. This is another huge insight. Stop going to therapists who are just doing talk therapy if you're struggling with fear, right? Because talking about your fear just makes you more fearful. Does this make sense? Like therapy can be helpful for in some ways, but if you want to move past a fear or PTSD or a panic attack, you got to work with the subconscious, right? And if you've been lucky to find a therapist who understands that, then wow, like I wish I had that back when I was struggling with anxiety. So how can we start to change this now? Like we've now understand when those people who struggle with self-doubt, if you're struggling with self-doubt, if you're struggling with imposter syndrome, it shows up as these things: paralysis analysis. You often say things like, I don't feel motivated. But remember, you're choosing to not do stuff. When you're choosing to not do stuff you want to do, you're choosing to do stuff you don't want to do, right? There's a difficulty making the decision that you really want. That's a better way to phrase it. You're just not making the decisions that you know you really want deep down, right? Maybe you want to quit smoking. Maybe you want to eat healthy for one whole day or one whole week. You want to start a new exercise regimen. You want to set up 30 dates for the next month, right? You want to get back out there in the dating world, but maybe you're struggling to stay motivated out there in the dating jungle. And I can certainly relate to this. Or maybe you don't know what to do in the relationships you are in right now. Like, what's the right decision for me? So what is the solution for this? Like, as we're unpacking self-doubt here, where it comes from. It's us questioning ourselves. It's others questioning us. What's resonating with you guys so far? What about what I've said so far are you identifying with? What's coming up for you? Where are you struggling with doubt now? Post in the comments. Where are you struggling with doubt? Is it in your relationship? What is the decision you want to make, but maybe you're not making it? Is it in your career? Is it in your business? Is it a pivot you want to make with your business? Is it a pivot you want to make in your career? Right? Yeah, questioning yourself, yeah. So here's something amazing, guys. All of self-doubt boils down to just a series of habits. And I'm going to pause here for effect because this is very important to start to understand if you want to eliminate self-doubt from your life, which you can, which I've done. I don't doubt anything I do because everything I do is intentional. So there's no doubt about what I'm doing. I'm choosing to do it for a reason, right? But if we're doing these habits, then you are going to feel like you have imposter syndrome. Then you are going to feel like a fraud. You are going to feel like you're not good enough. You are going to feel like anxious or like you're not motivated. And it all boils down. What I work with my clients on is a series of habits. And so when you eliminate these habits, this feeling of self-doubt, or this idea that you have self-doubt will disappear. Because again, this is about a series of habits. Is this making sense to you guys? We're really digging into the truth here. We're getting into the nitty-gritty here. Is this making sense for you guys? Like, if you think about it like this, if you never questioned yourself again, if you never questioned a decision, would you still be dealing with self-doubt? If you stopped questioning what was right and wrong for you, would you still be struggling with self-doubt? Would it still be there? For some of you, it's going to be no. And for some of you, it's going to still be yes, because your self-doubt is showing up in a different way. Maybe you're feeling anxious. Maybe there's fear around making a decision. And then you have to tackle that a different way. The habit here is now anxiety. Yeah, see, there you go. Yeah, if you just stopped doing the questioning and you stopped allowing others to question you, you got to do that too. Stop questioning yourself and just make the decision you think is best. And then don't go back and question it. And stop allowing others to question you. Here's a great way to do that. When others start coming to you and they start saying things like, "Are you sure?" or "How do you know?" And you start going into what we call a hypnotic trance. You start going into a trance and questioning yourself. You shut that down immediately. You say, that's right. That's the decision. That's what I did. That's what I'm doing. This is what I teach my clients to do, is to counter with reassurance. Counter with your own self-assurance. Yes, that's it. That's what I'm doing. Instead of, I don't know, what do you think? Stop leaving it up to other people. Or else, yes, you're going to live a very anxious life. It's pretty amazing, right? When you can just shut down self-doubt like that. But you have to first recognize when others are doing that, when others are installing that in and around you. So that's the first step to eliminating self-doubt. Notice when you're questioning yourself and stop. Instead, validate yourself. Validate your decision. Don't doubt it. Validate it. The decision's done, right? So there's no point in going back and questioning it. It's a waste of time. Validate the decision. And here's the next step to eliminating self-doubt, is to start to find validation from within inside you. Start to validate yourself. Once again, think of it like this. If you only got validation from yourself, would you still struggle with self-doubt? If you stopped seeking validation in others completely, and you are only going inside of yourself to validate yourself, would you still struggle with self-doubt? Comment, let me know below if this resonates with you. What's the answer? Once again, for some of you, it's going to be no. For some of you, it's still going to be yes, again, because your self-doubt is showing up in a different way. You're doing something else. Again, you're experiencing something different. But this is going to shut it off for a lot of you. If you just stop seeking validation outside of yourself. And I can talk, I'm going to put together another video about validation in the future. But what if you stop that altogether? No more seeking. Nobody can validate you guys. Let's put the water on the fire here right now. Yeah. It's a no for me. I feel like I need others' validation. Thanks for sharing, Angela. Yeah. So what if you just stopped going to others? Like just kind of conceptualize this for a minute. What if you just stopped going to others? Even though you want to, just imagine for a minute you just didn't. And instead you went inside yourself to check if that feels right for you. And you got an answer. Like, would you still need to go to others? If you were able to get that within inside you? I mean, the answer is no, right? Like, our bodies, our subconscious is going to take the path of least resistance. And the path of least resistance here is you're going to go inside yourself and check, is that right for me? Yes. It is scary. Yeah. This can be scary for those of you who are so used to going outside of yourselves to seek validation. But what's scarier, guys? Here's a great new perspective for you all. And this is a perspective that changed my whole life on validation, my whole perspective around validation. What is scarier? Going to others, seeking others, being dependent on others for validation for the rest of your life. Or being able to go with inside yourself and rely on yourself. Like, let that sink in. Let yourself come up with an answer right now. Let your subconscious tell you now, yes or no. Which one is scarier? Being dependent on others forever. Being dependent on whether they like you or not. Being dependent on whether they like your decision or not. And having to need that all the time. Or being able to get that within inside of yourself and say, yep, that's it. I did it. I did good. Which one is scarier now? Check back inside. And something should be shifting for you. So we can go down that rabbit hole another time and talk about validation, and we will. In fact, if I put together a masterclass for you guys, like an hour masterclass for you guys that taught you how to step into your own confidence when making decisions, is that something that would interest you? Go ahead and let me know in the comments. Is that something you would interest you? Let me know what would interest you here. Would you like a class to really dive in and start to replace self-doubt with confidence? Is that something that would interest you guys? Okay. Yep. Keep telling me yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. So this is a hot topic. Good to know. So I'm planning a masterclass for January 27th. I haven't figured out a topic yet, but I'm pretty set. We'll talk about this and really being able to connect with inside of ourselves and find that validation from within, so you can disconnect from needing to run to others to wonder if you're good enough or you made the right decision. Let's do that. So we'll plan that on the 27th. I will put together an email and I will let you guys know about that. If you're already getting my emails, you'll get this. If you're not getting my emails, let me know in the comments and I'll add you into the list so you're also getting these emails. So as we wrap up here, let's finish this off here. So again, as we've learned here, is that self-doubt boils down to a series of habits. And these habits are questioning ourselves, having others question us, and then we question ourselves, feeling anxious about making a decision, lack of being able to make the right decisions for ourselves. We typically experience procrastination. There's fear, right? And that's what tells us there's low self-esteem, lack of motivation, paralysis, things like that, right? And so the solution for this, guys, I've already talked about a couple. It's going to be stop letting others put you in a trance and start questioning yourself. Stop questioning yourself when others question you. Like, stop the habit of questioning yourself altogether. And if you do question yourself, give yourself reassurance. Like, yeah, that's right. That's the best I can do right now. Right? You want to practice giving yourself reassurance. And we'll talk about this in the masterclass later this month. The other solution is here. It's time to start practicing getting validation from within inside yourself. And again, this new perspective is, do you want to spend the rest of your life relying on others to decide what's best for you? Or do you want to make that decision? Right? And I get it, guys. I get it. It can be terrifying to switch your locus of control back inside of yourself. It can be terrifying to be that responsible for ourselves. I know. I get it. And what became more important here and what became more terrifying was leaving my life and responsibility up to others. Like, making others responsible for my life became more terrifying because nobody knows what you want but you. That should hit home right now for a lot of you. Does that hit home for you guys? Put yes in the comments if that's hitting home for you guys. Nobody knows what you want more than you. So you got to feed that. You got to feed that drive. Nobody can do that for you. And I'm here to help you learn how as we truck along on this journey here. Here's another way to start to unravel this. Is to start to, and this goes along with seeking validation within inside of yourself, is to start to be mindful of your own thinking. And going back to noticing when you're mindful, you're aware, you're noticing when you're questioning yourself. And stop the questioning and replace that with reassurance. Replace that with reassurance immediately. Do not wait a day. Do not wait an hour. Do not wait till it's time to go to bed. Do it in that moment. Give yourself, that's right. I know that's right for me. I got this. That's right. Even if it doesn't work out, it's the best that I can do right now. Do you see that? We're not aiming for perfect here. This is what I know as of right now. And so this is the direction I'm going to go. Do you hear that conviction? Do you hear that confidence? But I'm still unsure. I don't know. I don't have a magic 8-ball, right? But I'm sure I'm doing the best I can with what I have. See how you can step into confidence even in uncertainty. The next thing is to practice self-compassion. Guys, how many of you are missing self-compassion? And, I'll probably do a separate workshop on this, because this is a whole nother, we're getting a different outcome here than reassurance and self-trust. Now we're getting compassion. How many of you struggle to be kind with yourself? We're our own worst inner critic, and it will always be the case. However, you can also learn, and you can also practice, and you can also re-educate your nervous system to not feel all of these feelings: dread, uncertainty, fear, anxiety. You can rewire your nervous system, and that's exactly how I help clients using hypnosis and NLP. Is that we get to rewire your nervous system to respond differently to events, whether it's I would rather be confident, I would rather be grounded, I would rather be relaxed, I would rather feel happy. Anything's possible. If you can feel anxious, you can feel anything else, right? It's just a feeling. These are all just feelings. If you can feel one thing, you can feel another. And so let that be a new insight as well, is, hey, if you can feel sad, then why can't you feel happy in this moment? If you can feel anxious, why can't you feel calm in this moment? You can. You're in more control than you think. Your will can override so much. Your will is more powerful than your emotions, guys. Your will is more powerful than your emotions. How amazing is that? We have this added muscle that other animals don't have, that we can override our feelings. Now, do we want to do that? Maybe not all the time. We want to validate ourselves. Again, we want to go inside, validate ourselves. We're not talking about pretending here, right? So start to learn about self-compassion. Start to learn about empathy. Start to learn about what does it sound like if somebody speaks to you with kindness. This is where a lot of my clients struggle is, well, I don't know what that sounds like. I don't know what self-compassion, what does empathy sound like? So here, if you're asking this question, how many of you struggle to know what self-compassion or empathy is? In the chat. How many of you struggle to know which one is it? Empathy, compassion, both? I know I struggled with both, and I still am working on both. Do you know what empathy and compassion is? Oftentimes, if you grew up in an abusive family dynamic, then it's hard to know what this is. Like you're kind of putting pieces of a puzzle together. So what you can do is you can ask yourself and say, what would I want to hear from somebody in this case? What would I want to hear from someone? What would I want to hear from a boyfriend or my mother or my father or my kids or myself? What would I want to hear? And that will give you that answer. Okay? And stop comparing yourself with others. Guys, again, all of self-doubt boils down to habits. And if you have a habit of comparing yourself to others, stop that. Untrain that. Unlearn that. You can untrain this too. You can unlearn this too. And we'll talk about this again in the future. It's time to stop doing that and start to replace that habit with something more productive. Productive like reassurance. Replace comparing yourself with reassurance. Right? Or remind yourself, put an affirmation there. I don't get to decide who's better or worse. That's not my decision. Like another affirmation could be, this isn't helpful. Like when I notice myself comparing myself with others, how many of you do this, by the way, like this video, or put yes in the comments, put me in the comments. If you find yourself comparing yourself to others, put me in the chat. Is this you? Do you find yourself doing this? Comparing yourself to others. And we've talked about this in the past. And again, if mindfulness is a great technique to eliminate these habits. If you need more help with mindfulness, I have a video that I've already recorded. It's on my YouTube channel which you can go check out. The YouTube channel is called Beat Your Anxiety, same as this group. If you need to go back and learn about mindfulness in order to start catching yourself doing these things, because that's what you need, you got to build this muscle. And the only way to do it is using mindfulness. There's no pill, there's no book, there's no video you can watch enough to be mindful. You gotta practice this. If you want to know a tangible strategy, a tangible step-by-step guide on how to be more mindful, go check out my YouTube channel, Beat Your Anxiety. So go back and check that out if you need to learn how to be more mindful in order to start catching yourself comparing yourself. You need that first. And even today, you can start to go through your day, notice when you're comparing yourself and just stop it. Remind yourself in that moment, this is useless. Like, this habit is useless. It doesn't make me a better person. It doesn't make me a worse person. It's just a useless habit. It's like there's always has to be this one up, one down position. When is that ever useful? Either you have this fake feeling of I'm better than this person, or you feel like shit. So either way, you don't feel good about yourself. You have a fake feeling of pride, or you feel like crap. This is what comparing will give you. So, I untrained this habit for myself. Again, I'm not perfect. It comes up once in a while, but not very often. And when it does, you can simply remind yourself, this is such a useless habit. It does not move me forward. It just keeps me in a battle with inside myself and others. And you can just let that go. And then finally, the last piece here to eliminate self-doubt is to really start to actually begin to change your tone and the way you talk with inside of yourself. And this is what we're going to go over in the masterclass. This is what I know you all need more help with. You're probably asking, how the hell do I do that, right? Right? Easier said than done type of thing. And I know I had to go to special training to learn this. So I am excited to share that all with you on the 27th. So be on the lookout. We're going to talk about changing the qualities of our internal dialogue, how we talk to ourselves. And in between now and then, start to investigate how you talk to yourself. Do you sound anxious when you talk to yourself? Do you sound unsure when you talk to yourself? Do you ask a lot of questions rather than giving yourself reassurance? Do you call yourself stupid? Do you call yourself an idiot? Do you call yourself a meaningless or a waste of time? We can be so cruel to ourselves. But the key here is to remember it's us doing it, which means that we have all the power to change it. How great is that? Once we've learned who's doing what, we have the power to change it. This is where real power versus force happens. Power versus force. Great book, by the way. If you are readers, you want to really learn how to change your life without having to force things to be a certain way, go check out Power versus Force by Dr. Hawkins. Really amazing book. One of my absolute favorites. So let me know if this video is helpful to you guys. Like this video, share this video with others. I know others outside of you need this help. So share this video with your friends, with your family, if you feel like they can use it. If this has inspired you today, like this video, put your comments and questions below. And again, I'll be back here on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Ask Me Anything Fridays. Again, we just jump right into questions here. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of talking at you. It's going to be more answering your questions for a straight 30 to 45 minutes. So don't miss Ask Me Anything Fridays. We had a great group last time. I think we were able to get a lot of clarity here. Be on the lookout in your inbox for this masterclass on how to change, how to give yourself that validation, how to give yourself that reassurance, how to step into confidence, really, when it comes to speaking and validating yourself. How about that? Like being able to reconnect with inside yourself, find that reassurance. One of my favorite things to talk about. So guys, stay tuned for Friday. Stay tuned for the 27th. And everybody here, have an amazing rest of your week. Go out there, be powerful, be productive, and I will talk to you on Friday.